Hi, thanks for joining me today. It's Wednesday, April 21st. It's a Big Idea Wednesday, where I take an idea to get you to think about how you view yourself and view the world, maybe get a little bit better understanding about that. But first, flame on. I do want to thank all the awesome people that like and share this video. It's what keeps me going. So the reason I keep making videos is because of you hitting that like button. So thanks for doing that. Today, we're going to talk about faceism. And this came up because apparently there was a trial or something recently. I don't know, I didn't really pay much attention to it. But I noticed that the guy that was just found guilty had a real dour look on his face all the time. And it got me thinking about a couple things. Let's go to some stories about this. Do you have a happy or angry resting face? It may affect your career. You can't judge a book by its cover. It turns out humans are not very good at following that advice. A behavior that affects who we hire, who we elect to office, and even who we send to jail. We're at best very weak at being able to guess things about people from their faces. A researcher in psychology of human decision-making at Carnegie Mellon told today. In a recent study in the journal Trends in Cognitive Science, Livola and two Princeton University researchers looked at how people judge others based on facial features. What he found was strong evidence for faceism. Essentially, we decide that someone is trustworthy or competent or extroverted based solely on their facial features. People are a lot more mature or inherently judged as competent. Baby-faced folks are not. And Zoolander was right. Being really, really ridiculously good-looking helped in almost every category. Attractiveness, generally speaking, is always a plus. The study specifically looked at people's resting faces. That means a scowl or a smile provoked by emotion didn't factor into it. The researchers only looked at faces in neutral positions. Like many people, the researcher has a problem. He naturally looks kind of upset or angry, or as it's sometimes called, bitchy resting face. When I'm neutral, I look really mean. Thanks, Mom and Dad, he said, but people are just finding me intimidating. Like when I was growing up, people would come up to me and say, "Hey, is everything okay?" And I'd say, "No, I feel fine." His studies have shown that people will vote for candidates who look more competent and decide to convict people who look less trustworthy. Changing our natural instincts is tough, but we could do things to make sure voters are more informed, which makes them less likely to vote based on appearances, Olivola said, and hide defendants in trial from the view of jurors. This facial stereotyping or faceism affects really big societal choices like who we vote for, who we choose to handle our money, and who we convict in a crime, he says. We don't want to live in a society where these things are determined by superficial cues. I totally relate to this because this is me as well. When I try to smile, as much as I can't even get my mouth to arc up. It only goes straight across. So when I walk around in the world, I think I generally give off an angry look on my face when I'm not thinking about anything at all. This is something that I've dealt with my whole life. That's just my natural face. And I know that it does affect how people think about me. And it definitely affects how I think about other people. I certainly give smiling, good-looking people the benefit of the doubt most of the time. And uglier people with a not-so-pleasant look on their face, I don't give them the same advantage. I admit to that. And it's just not right. But when we're thinking about RBF, or resting bitch face, you know, there's even memes about this, lots of articles on this. What they found is they did some facial recognition programs, and they put in 10,000 faces with all these points and associated them with different emotions. And what they found is people that had RBF, resting bitch face, the computer associated that look with contempt. Now, that doesn't mean that the person was actually contemptful. It's just how it's perceived by other people. In fact, what they say is that, like, when you have a neutral face, 97% is without emotion, but there's a little bit of contempt in there, and people will associate that look with being contemptful. Now, there have been lots of articles written on this, as the Washington Post. Scientists have discovered what causes resting bitch face. We have Anna Kendrick there, who has been associated with that quite a bit. New York Times, I'm not mad, that's just my RBF. Kristen Stewart is a classic listed with that RBF face. But I will say that even if you are a Hollywood actress and you have a natural scowl, you're still gorgeous. And it's not going to affect you nearly as much as it would affect regular human beings with regular looks. But when we look at the news from yesterday, what I noticed with this guy is he had a natural scowl. He just always had that look. Even in the courtroom, that was his face. You look at that face and you just don't like it. In fact, if you were to cast a Hollywood movie and you wanted to have an evil cop, right? This guy would be perfect for it. Because when you see this face, that's what you associate with it. That's just bad luck on his part, I think. Now, I'm not saying that the outcome would have been any different had he looked different. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we do judge people based on things in their face, and we don't recognize that we do it, but we do it way more than we think we do. In fact, someone may be totally oblivious to race. They may not even see race at all, right? This is a hypothetical here. You don't even see race at all, but you do see a smile. You do see a scowl. You can tell if someone is happy to see you or angry to see you. And often we will project onto people what we think we see in their face. And, that brings up an idea, and maybe I'll make a longer video on it at some point, that maybe when we're having a trial, perhaps we shouldn't even have the person on trial be there in person. Right? To be a little bit more fair, perhaps it would be better if there was a computer simulation of them, an avatar, if you will, so you wouldn't be judging the looks on their face. You would be judging just the person. But I don't know. I don't know what the best way to go about that would be. But we definitely do judge people by their facial expression. I would love it if I had a natural smile on my face. I'm sure this channel would be 10 times bigger if I had a natural smile and were better looking. But I'm stuck with who I am, right? But to conclude, let me just read this last line again. This facial stereotyping or faceism affects really big societal choices, like who we vote for, who we choose to handle our money, and who we convict in a crime. We don't want to live in a society where these things are determined by superficial cues. And I agree with that. Faceism is a much bigger thing than you realize. So that's just something to think about today on this Big Idea Wednesday. I do have a full playlist of Big Idea Wednesdays, and one of the things that I like about this subject is they are topics that you can bring up with other people to talk about that may not necessarily be about the news of the day. And that's always kind of fun. Be sure to hit that like button if you like this video. Have an awesome day. Peace.